In the peaceful town of Pennsylvania, a woman gives birth to a baby with the help of 3 men. Unfortunately, as soon as the baby was born, the 3 men who helped deliver the baby had to bury the baby alive in a field near their house. The next day, a group of boys are playing baseball when their ball flies to the peacock's property. No one dares to go get the ball, so they keep playing with a new ball. Fox Mulder and Dana Scully are the FBI agents who have been sent to look into the case. When they get to the crime scene, Andy Taylor, the local sheriff, comes to meet them. The 3 men from the Peacock house have been watching them the whole time. Mulder asks if he has questioned the family because they are the only ones who live nearby. Taylor tells a short story about the Peacock family's history after their parents are said to have died in a car accident. There are 3 brothers: George Raymond Peacock, age 30, Sherman Nathaniel Peacock, age 26, and Edmund Creighton Peacock, age 42, with misshapen faces, are the only ones left. The brothers have been living alone in a rundown house that was built during the Civil War. The house still doesn't have electricity, a heating system, or water service. They raise their own pigs and cows and grow their own food. Taylor is an old-fashioned man who wants things to stay the same in his hometown. However, the seriousness of the situation forces him to call for help from outside sources. He calls Mulder and Dana because he wants to find out who did it. Mulder and Scully want to look at the body, but the town doesn't have a lab or a morgue, so Taylor keeps the body in the refrigerator. Dirt in the dead child's nose and mouth shows that he or she was buried alive and suffocated and breathed in the dirt before dying. When Mulder asks Scully if her family has a history of genetic abnormalities, she says no. To cheer her up, he tells her to find a man with strong genetics and settle down. He also tries to comfort her by saying that the child is a lost cause. Scully thinks that the child's problems might not have been caused by a single polygenic mating, but by mutations that happened many generations ago. She says that even though the boys are cut off from the outside world, they know about inbreeding, and people do have natural instincts to reproduce. However, Taylor says that the Peacock family is now made up of only boys and that their mother has been dead for a long time. That afternoon, Mulder and Scully go to the Peacock's house, but the boys aren't there. They see a white car with no license plate parked outside. The area isn't in the best shape, with a weedy lawn and flies buzzing around a pig's head on the front steps. Before going inside, Mulder and Scully look inside with a flashlight from the front door. Inside, they find a pair of scissors. Mulder wants Taylor to get an arrest warrant for the Peacock brothers and put an APB out for them. Scully also suggests that they look for reports of missing women and check the car's license plate number. Mulder is sure that if the mother is still alive, her sons will definitely take her with them. They search the house but don't find anyone else there. But in the dark room, they don't notice a pair of eyes watching them at night. Taylor calls to tell them that he has issued warrants for the Peacock brothers and that Deputy Barney Pastor is working on the missing person reports. However, there are too many cases of abandoned vehicles to look into. After the call, Taylor checks his gun, which he has locked away because he doesn't think he'll ever need to use it. Taylor couldn't fall asleep and was thinking deeply when his wife came to get him. As usual, when they left the house, they didn't lock the front door. Meanwhile, the Peacock brothers drove off in their car with the wooden bats and the radio on. After a while, Taylor got out of bed to see what was making the noise. He saw a white car parked on the lawn, so he told his wife to hide under the bed. The intruders, the door slowly creaks open, and as soon as a man walks in, he hits him with a bat several times, but it doesn't even hurt. The other 2 men come into the room with their own bat and kill Taylor with it, leaving blood all over the floor. The Peacock brothers' amazing sense of smell is shown when they sniff and can tell that someone else is in the room. This is how they find Taylor's wife under the bed, and she dies in their hands. After their mission for the night is done, the brothers drive back home the next morning. Deputy Pastor is the first one to find Taylor and his wife's bodies. He has come to give the reports to his boss, and he is completely shaken by Tay. Mulder asks Scully how likely it is that each of the Peacock brothers is the father of that child. Scully tells him that is impossible because only the baby batter of one man can enter an ovum, and a weakening ovum has to come from a Peacock family woman, but there are no Peacock family women left. Mulder thinks about calling for help from Pittsburgh, but Scully tells him to act right away because the woman's life is in danger and they can't wait a whole day. Deputy Pastor agrees with Scully and offers to help them with this mission. At that moment, Scully realizes why the Peacock brothers would attack in the first place. Taylor and the sheriff didn't even ask them about the baby. If it's about the arrest warrants, Taylor issued them over the phone, and no one would have known about it unless they had talked about it at the Peacock home before. On the other hand, the Peacock brothers also get ready for whatever comes their way that afternoon. After making everyone wear a bulletproof vest, Scully and Paste sneak onto the Peacock's property. Pastor's in charge, while Scully and Mulder keep an eye out. When Pastor gets to the front door and slowly opens it, Scully and Mulder are on guard. Scully sees a string tied to the door, but before she can tell Mulder, an axe comes flying and chops off his head, and the brothers come to rip his body apart. Now that they know the house is full of traps, they can't break in quickly, so Mulder comes up with a plan to get the brothers to come out. He lets all the pigs out of the pigsty, and when the brothers see that the pigs are running around, Mulder and Scully try to get into the house through the back door, which is also set up with a trap. They finally break in and ask if anyone is inside. They hear a sound and follow it to a room with pictures all over the walls. The pictures show that the strange things have been passed down from generation to generation. Mulder sees 2 marks on the floor made by the small wheels, so he gets down on his knees to look under the bed. He sees a woman strapped to a board, and as soon as they get close to her, she starts screaming for them to leave. When they pull the board away, they see a woman with a deformed face and all her limbs cut off. This woman is Mrs. Peacock, the mother of the 3 brothers. Scully thinks that Edmund is the brother of the 2 younger brothers and their father. Mulder sends Scully to convince Mrs. Peacock that the brothers can only get out without getting hurt if she helps them. Mrs. Peacock doesn't seem to be held against her will. Instead, she seems to be having an incestuous relationship with them and inbreeding. She is stubborn about not wanting to leave her house and their boys. By the time the brothers have gathered all the pigs and sense that someone has broken into their house, Mulder and Scully shoot. Scully tells the police and highway patrol that she is sure they will catch them somewhere this time. Mrs. Peacock and Edmund are in the car trunk, presumably breeding again. She remembers Sherman and George as good children, but they have to move on and start a new family and find a new home. As the story ends, Edmund climbs out of the trunk and drives away.